Hello, my name is Kelly Bluen. Welcome to my mini mandala series. In these videos, I show you how to make a nice little mandala using a coin, a pen, and a pencil and some paper. So I'm using a penny. I have a micron pen. I have a pencil for some drawing and shading. And I also have a little blending tool called a tortillon. And I've got a piece of scrap paper that I'm going to use like a little ruler. Okay, so we're going to start by picking up our pencil and putting our coin or our circle anywhere on your paper and then tracing around it. We always start with this center circle to begin our mandala. Okay, now I'm going to use my pencil to draw a grid, and to make this grid I put a line across the center horizontally, and then I put a line vertically. I also do 2 diagonal lines, and when I do these I'm trying to divide this section in half evenly. So I'm looking to see if those are pretty even. Okay, now I'm going to use this to create some little marks to draw our circles. And I like to put this at the top of my circle. So right there. And I'm going to do a mark about the width of my pencil. And another mark about the width of my pencil. And then I'm going to do one more that's just a little bit larger than the first two. So I've got the top of my circle, I've got a little hash mark here, here, and then one up a little bit higher. And then I just extend those out over my line. See how that turned out? And I go all the way around my circle, adding those little marks on each line. This will help us create circles that are mostly even. We are not looking for perfection when we make these. We're just enjoying the process. But we do like them to be as close as we can get. Okay. My little marks are on there. Now I can connect these with my pencil. And I'm going nice and light, making these curved lines. And then I do the next row. And one more. Okay, there's our mandala grid for today. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pick up my pen now and start doing some drawing. So in this middle section today, I'm going to darken each of these little lines in the middle. And again, I'm looking to make these sections pretty even. Like that. And we are not going to ink in the outside yet. Instead, we're going to put a shape in here. And I'm going to make this shape just slightly rounded at the top. So I'm going to go straight up, round it, and back down. So a little rounded top And then I'm going to angle up, curve, and down. If it helps you to make this little curve on the top, go ahead and do that each time. And we're going to that next line, and we're going to the center of it. I love making our centers like this. Okay, now I'm going to do an inside aura, which means I'm going to make a line right along the inside shape like that. So I'm repeating that shape along the inside. Go nice and slow. Hold your pen lightly. If you have a good pen, you should not need to push down too hard. And there's our center. Okay, now we're going to fill in these little spots in between each of those little shapes. And we're going to do it with that same rounded top. And we're just going to go down and down. So a little rounded top, up and down. And we're just going to that line. And these might come out to be a little bit different in size of each other because of how we spaced our lines, and that's okay. It's still going to be a beautiful mandala. Okay, now I'm going to do just an aura on that line. So on the inside where I made that little mountain shape, I'm going to make another one just inside of it. I love watching our mandalas build. Okay, in those, I'm going to color them in. If you have a pattern you would like to do, please feel free to add that. Yours does not need to be inked in like mine. But as you're doing it, remember to breathe. Relax your shoulders. Look how pretty that's looking. Okay. For our next part, we're going to work on this next circle. And to do that, I'm going to put in bump shapes that go from the top of a petal to the top of the next one. And it's going to go all the way up. So I'm going to start on this line. I'm going to go up and come down to that petal. Up and down to that petal. up and down, up and down. Always looking at where you want that petal to end. So we're essentially putting 2 petals in each of these sections. And then inside each of these petals, I'm going to put an aura on the inside like that. Again, take your time. Make each line slowly and intentionally. Imperfections are wonderful. Look at this one right here is large with a narrow border. This one is narrow with a thick border. And I'm pretty sure it still looks wonderful. My cat just walked in and is asking me for a treat. Okay, now there's lots of options of what you can do inside of these little bumps. But for today, I'm just going to put in some lines. So I'm going to put a line down the middle and each side. I'm going to try to fit 3 lines in each one. I like having areas that are empty, areas that are colored in, and areas with texture. So this is my texture for today, these little lines. And if you can only fit in 2 lines, that's okay. If you can fit in more, go ahead. No one's going to judge you. Okay. So for this next part, we're going to put in a leaf shape. And these leaf shapes are going to be, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and just ink these in. I'm going to ink in these lines that I already have drawn out to the next circle. And then these leaf shapes are going to come down to the side of a bump and the side of another bump. So I'm going to come down like this and down like this. And then this one, I'm going to go down to this bump and down to this bump. Look at how nice that looks. Okay, in these little leaf patterns today, we're going to do a couple of things. So on the right-hand side, I'm going to put a series of diagonal lines in, like that. And then I skip this side and I go to the right side of that leaf. And I do the same thing. Skip a section, go to the right side. If it's easier for you to turn your paper at this point, you can. I'm going to skip a section and then do the diagonals on the right side. Skip. Diagonals. Skip. Do these slowly and lightly. And I like how these textured lines match the texture of those petals. On the left-hand side of each of these, I'm going to come up the center and put in a spiral. Come up the center, put in a spiral. If you want to do something else, please do so. Trying to make these spirals fill up most of that space. Okay. All right, so in here we have these little spots that we made, these little mountains, and colored them in. I would like to do that again. And I'm just going to go about halfway up to the middle. So halfway up and down. And then I'm going to color that in. So I'm going, here's my last little section. I'm going to go about halfway up and then back down. Look at how that dark matches that dark in the center. Enjoy coloring this in without having to think about your next line. Okay, step back, take a look, see if those all look pretty even. And then I'm going to add an aura over each one. And then I'm going to add an aura around the whole thing. So I go over those tall petals and then over those short ones. Go nice and slow. And then we have these little petals left in the center, and you have several options. Of course, you've got endless options, but I think to match these dark areas, I'm just going to put in a little kind of a mountain shape there that turns this into a diamond. So I'm just going up towards that middle and down. Up towards that middle and down. Some areas are smaller than others. If it helps you, put a dot on that first line where the penny was, where the coin was, and then just go down, down. And then I'm just going to put a little dark dot in that upper area. And I like those dots, so I'm going to add one above each of these spirals. Just because I like to repeat elements. So we'll put those dots up here for a little added detail. Okay, that's our mandala. Now all we have left to do is shade it. So first I'm going to initial my work. And then I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to erase some of these pencil lines. Not pushing down too hard. Beautiful. And then I'm going to do a little bit of shading. So I picked up my graphite pencil, and this has a lot of ink on it, so I don't want to add a lot of shading, but I'm going to go around these pointy areas in the middle. So it's at the bottom of these lines, and on top of these little pointy petals. So we're going on the outside of those. And I can pick up my blending tool and I can push that outwards into those petals, away from the center towards the outside. Look at that pretty little shadow it created. And I'm going to do the same thing around these rounded areas. So around each rounded petal, and then I'm going to push those just a little bit out into those leaves. Look at how layered that looks. And the last thing I'm going to do is on the inside of these leaves, I'm going to put some graphite along the center line towards the textured area. And when I smooth that out, just gives that side of the leaf a little bit of shadow. And if you'd like, if you have a blending tool like I do, mine has some graphite on it already. And I'm just going to put the tiniest shadow over the top of these dark diamonds. All right, there we go. That's our mandala. I hope that you enjoyed it. Maybe I should have zoomed in earlier. I love this one. So as always, write the date on the bottom or on the back, and then write a sentence or two about what's going on in your life, what's going on in your heart. As we're drawing this tonight, it's been about 5 days since the wildfires in Hawaii, and I have relatives out there on a different island that have now flown over to help. One is a firefighter, one is a nurse, and they're over helping in Lahaina at the scene of where the fire was in that town. So anyway, that's been on my heart a lot this week. So as I'm drawing this, I'm just thinking about them, their families, all the people that were affected by those fires. So we all have things in our lives that we can think about, that we can just kind of meditate on. So if you want to write a little sentence about what's on your mind, what's on your heart, that would be a wonderful way to remember this mandala. So enjoy, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.